Hello, I have been playing Mechanicus 2 recently, and I figured I'd give my thoughts on a few things. Full disclaimer, I haven't got too far into the game, as you can probably see by the map itself. I'm not going to scroll around too much just in case there are spoilers, but I'm about 12 hours in. It's the 23rd of May, so the game just came out, and there are still bugs. They still need to fix some things, and basically today I'm going to be talking about some of the things that I hope they fix, specifically with when they finish talking, specifically with the skills and abilities of the main heroes, the main commanders. That's the word. A quick summary of the commanders themselves. There are 5 of them. I'm not going to click through just yet because they all will talk at me, and I don't want to be spoken over. What they have, in short, is they have a ranged weapon, a melee weapon, sometimes another ranged weapon, sometimes an ability, a big flashy kind of shiny ability, and they have a litany. The litany is not something they do. Rather, it's an ability they give to their Skitarii cohort. You send one commander out into the field with a bunch of Skitarii troops, and each commander gives their troops a special ability that they can click. Quick summary. And then there's some passive stuff here. I'm going to be talking about a few of the negatives that I have encountered or feel about these abilities thus far. Let's start with Scaevola, the kind of tech heretic, kind of oddball creature. Her main thing is Battleware Override, sort of. I haven't unlocked that one yet. Again, I'm 12 hours into the game. I realise there is quite a lot of stuff I haven't unlocked yet, alternate weapons and such, but I feel like if you are 12 hours into a game, you should at least have the excuse of, oh, you just haven't unlocked it yet, shouldn't apply if it's 12 hours. If I'm 12 hours into a game, that's not like a new player experience kind of thing. That's like, to be fair, I'm not going at the fastest of paces, but you should have a functioning game by the point of 12 hours in, or even 6 hours in. Basically, once you pass a certain point, I'm not going to pick a specific number, but yeah, 12's definitely enough. Point is, bunch of stuff I haven't unlocked yet. However, the default ability Battleware Override seems problematic. First of all, this is definitely seems to be a bug. You can choose in your upgrade path, and I do like props to them for like being able to, you can remove skill points and move it around as much as you want. In this case, you can choose to either have unlock Xenorite Right at the end of this unit's turn, trigger Xenorite instability. At the end of this unit's turn, you zap a random unit on the battlefield for 1 to 2 damage anywhere on the battlefield. A random unit is just zapped. Could be one of yours, could be one of your enemies. Does that sound good? Does that sound bad? Well, don't worry, because instead of that, you can instead gain an aura around Scaevola where her and her nearby allies are immune to that effect. Do you notice the problem here? You can either unlock the ability or gain immunity to the ability. And no, nothing else in the game, no other unit in the game has that ability. There is, I think, at the very end of the skill tree, these 2 abilities can trigger it as well. However, what? I don't want to. First of all, I also feel like the ability is a bit crap anyway, and I feel like giving more in. What does it do? Forbidden Knowledge 5, plus 1 round duration. For every X cognition points you have stored, this effect triggers once. Xenorite Data Curse. Oh, yeah. So, there is no way to upgrade this Xenorite instability other than make it happen more often, or make yourself immune to it. But if you make yourself immune to it, you don't unlock the ability. At least as far as, like, it doesn't trigger at the end of your turn. You can make it so you teleport and then trigger it. You can make it so that... whatever. Point is, this seems like a very dumb oversight that until you get to the very end of the skill tree, you can't trigger it, but before then, you can gain immunity to it. Or unlock it. As for why I think this ability is not good, again, I'm gonna work assuming that you know what the general gameplay is like. Let's assume that you're fighting enemies. Inflicts 1 to 2 damage on a random enemy. There are 2 factors in this game: armor and defense. Armor is flat mitigation. Whenever you take damage, say you take 3 damage and you have 1 armor, that becomes 2 damage. Defense is temporary HP, or that refreshes. So Scaevola has 2 temporary HP. At the end of her turn, that refreshes back up to 2. And effectively, if she does get hit by a random bolt of lightning, it'll do 1 to 2 damage and remove 1 to 2 temporary HP. Bearing in mind that defense, there are quite a few ways. Like, this ability bypasses armor, this ability bypasses defense. That's a common part. That's a common mechanic. And armor is quite common for the Necrons to have. Like, the main Necrons that I face, or at least the ones you really care about, you're more likely to see like 1 armor on a lot of Necron units. The jump pack ones, I'm not sure if the snipers do, but the ones with the shields, I'm great with these names, but you know what I'm talking about. The ones with the shields, I think the Immortals, which are like the shooters with the bigger guns, all of those units, like the common foot troopers beyond, well, I guess more elite foot troopers beyond like Necron warriors and flayed ones, which are just trash fodder. This ability is either going to hit one of your units, and your units don't really have armor. They might have defense, but that's still not ideal. It's not ideal to lose a bit of your armor. Yeah, Rangers don't have armor, which is what I like to field. So this is either going to hit, say, a random Necron warrior and do a bit of damage to it. Necron warrior has 6 HP, so you do like a 1/6 or a 1/3 of its health. Or you hit something like a Necron Immortal and do 0 or 1 damage to it. Or it will just hit your unit and deal damage to your unit, and I personally don't like the idea of that. I feel like this is more likely to hit one of your own, unless you are using this aura as much as you can. A bubble around Scaevola that protects her and her nearby allies from the zap. If you have that, you don't have this ability. If teleporting, she's not going to be near your units unless she's teleporting next to them. So what's this do? Inflict Forbidden Protocol on enemy unit in a target area and then trigger it twice. Sure, that does apply, but it costs 3 thingy. I don't know. Maybe by that point you have lots of ways to gain cognition. I just noticed while editing that because of the shape of this skill tree, you can't even get this ability if you have the defensive aura. Effectively, picking the defensive aura locks you out of the lower half of the skill tree. You gain the ability locks you out of the top half of this skill tree. Point is, I feel like random bolts of lightning are striking the enemy, bearing in mind the mission being, well, our mission will have several fights, and any damage your units sustain in the first fight will carry over to following fights. So random chip damage is very bad for you, whereas obviously for the enemy you have to kill them all anyway per each fight. So random chip damage to an enemy, like a Necron Warrior, it has 6 HP. Your Skitaria Rangers do 3 HP if they're standing still. So 2 shots from a Ranger is probably going to kill it. This isn't going to add to that. It might if your Ranger moves and everything, but I find that killing something or I'm being off by 1 HP isn't going to make a difference, or it isn't going to swing the day if a random bolt of lightning saves me. I've talked for nearly 10 minutes about an ability. Yeah, there's also this Battleware Override, which I've not tried. I've picked it up because I plan to try it, but tell me this does not read. I'll read it to you. Unlock Battleware Override. Grant Battleware Override to allied unit in a radius for 1 round. At the end of the effect, targets suffer impeded and weakened. I said I'd read it to you. I forgot I'm dyslexic. Tell me that does not read like you give your allied units in range for 1 round an ability that wears off and then gives them the impeded and weakened debuffs. Is that ability just debuffing my allies? And at that point, why? I know this thing up here gains an increased area of effect, so you can hit even more of your allies. And I don't think anything else in here messes with Battleware Override. I'm not sure what this does. I don't know. The way I read that, and the reason why I didn't bother taking it, I didn't bother looking at it, is because it seems like they didn't test this. What is that supposed to be? Kind of like there's a problem with that. It seems. Other than that, Litany of Ancient Matrix, again costing 2 HP instead of 1 cognition. Generally I feel like the Litany, to cast it costs 1 cognition, but each of your troops should kind of be net positive on the main way you gain cognition is by your troops doing things that give you cognition. So I feel like if you're relying on your troops taking chip damage, HP damage, which it's very difficult to heal, especially with Scaevola. I know Kepra and Ro have healing sticks, but Scaevola, there is no way on this skill tree that I have seen to give your units health back. There's just, you can chip damage them or chip damage them, and then they just all die. So I guess you take replacement units. Maybe that is how you're supposed to play it. You just treat your pawns like they are disposable. It wouldn't be too out of character for her, but it does leave a bad taste in the mind to be doing chip damage to your units, in my opinion, if you have no way to heal them. Anyway, stick, it does stick things. Being a size 2, being a 2x2 unit, it's sometimes hard to get the stick into position, but that is a flaw of Scaevola, Ro, and Videx. It just is what it is. Maneuvering a tank is a bit rough sometimes. Anyway, I do like the vibe of a 2x2 big Mechanicus deck priest thing. But anyway, the macro stubber, I don't really have any complaints. It's a kind of boring gun, but it does its job. 3 times 1 damage. Again, if anything has armor, there is no way to make this macro stubber get past that armor, from what I've seen. So this gun cannot even tickle anything with armor. It's just there. I mostly use it to put down already dead Necrons. Let's talk about Ro. What's he got on him? So not too many complaints, I'll be honest, other than his main tree here. You see, usually the things I don't like, I haven't put many points in, I haven't played with him too much. You can buff servitors and large units. I haven't gained access to any large units yet, so this is just buffing servitors. This is buffing servitors. This is buffing servitors. This is buffing servitors. Yeah, his thing is he buffs servitors, except not so much. He makes them, like, he gives them more survivability by +1 HP, he gives them +1 movement, he gives them the chance that they come back from being dead, and he gives them the ability to deal a melee attack if available against the thing that killed them when they die. Their melee attack is going to do maybe 1 or 2 damage, maybe. Their HP, that's good. The only thing servitors really do is get punched in the face, so healing and coming back from the dead is great. +1 movement, that's not too bad. You want to put them where they're going to take damage, but by and large, 4 abilities to make a meat shield slightly better at being a meat shield by quite a small margin. I don't feel there's much value in that. Personally, it feels like all of the abilities, and this is just a general thing, it feels like all of the upgrades on all of these characters, they're very small things. +1 to max damage, not even to flat, like a +1 flat damage increase, +1 to potential damage. I'd like to compare that to the skill tree in the first game and how the first game worked. So for those who need a refresher, in the first game you had physical damage and energy damage, and thus armor was split between physical armor and energy armor, and you mostly got bonuses to your physical and energy armor via equipment slots. So your head, your body, your gloves and your feet each provided an equipment slot that you could slot in, say, a buff to your buff to those stats, and also I think health was also a common increase as well. So you'd essentially you would say look at a headpiece and see like, oh, this gives you +2 energy armor and +1 physical armor. I don't have the numbers right. Sorry for the blurry image, by the way. I went and found like Google image of the skill tree because I'm too lazy to re-download the game and play it to just show this. So what would that look like in this sort of skill tree if you had say the equivalent of 2 energy armor and 1 physical armor? Well, in this game you have armor and defense, but let's focus on armor. You just have 1 armor, and that applies in all situations. So 1 energy armor and 1 physical armor is essentially 1.5 armor. It's either 1 or it's 2, and assume that you're getting hit by an equal amount of energy and physical damage. It's 1.5. We can average it out to that. So our skill point in here saying, hey, +1 armor is not too different from something in here saying +1 energy armor, +1 physical armor. It's exactly the same, kind of. There's more armor penetration in this game, it seems, but however, if the brain sees 2 energy armor, 1 physical armor, it thinks, wow, 3. That's a good number. That's better than 2, but it's also like it's significant. That felt like a much more significant upgrade for a skill point to get something like 3 or 4. There might have even been 5 points worth of armor, which kind of just, assuming conversion ratio, like it's only really worth like half a point of armor each. So 1.5 to 2.5 points of armor. It wouldn't be too, like, it doesn't feel like the Mechanicus 1 had too different of a power level, damage ratios and everything. But it certain like by having it in that way, it definitely felt more significant to unlock something that gave you, you know, 4 armor, actually 2, but 4 armor, and also another thing. So there's a lot of stuff that is different in how this feels and how it does. Additionally, that physical and energy armor didn't stack. It's fine to give you those numbers because that was your defense. In this game, the exact opposite is applying. Your physical armor and your defense are stacking on top of each other. You got 2 numbers and they're adding together to increase your and also your enemy's defensiveness. There are things that bypass that, and that's how this game is working, where what you're trying to do is you're trying to use things that bypass those defenses. However, just flat out, if you don't have something that can bypass, and from what I've seen, you have things that maybe bypass one or bypass the other, but I haven't seen anything that bypasses both. And a lot of stuff just doesn't bypass anything. That's quite common. For 2 numbers that just stack on top of each other, effectively, kind of, chip damage is this, and big soak is that, whatever. Those numbers are working against each other for skill, like being able to put skills into the game that is like, ooh, big upgrade, like C big number, simple brain is happy, like making these perks and abilities feel more significant. You can't put too many upgrades to stats in this skill tree, because if someone beelines all of those stats, then they can get very crazy kind of defenses and stuff if that's what they're going for, and that might mess up the numbers in the game. That might break the game. If someone gets too many of any number, they're going to break the game. So we have to minimize how many of those numbers that they can get in the game, but that makes the upgrades feel less. Whereas in this, and this is another thing that they did right, they spaced those upgrades out. So you get your big flashy shiny abilities, but then you have to get a piece of equipment. Sure, okay, you get a stat boost, then you get a shiny ability, then you get a stat boost, then you get a shiny ability, and then you get a stat boost, kind of thing. Sure, you can split and go that way, but by and large, people will follow a tree because they're incentivized to get all the way to the end of the tree, because sure, you want the big shiny things at the end. By spacing things out that way, there is no mad rush to get all of the upgrades, to get all of the numbers go up, kind of thing. And even if they did run for all the stat boosts, they can't get all of it. You see how many pieces of equipment this person has unlocked? They've got I'm not going to count them, but like essentially what you can equip is a single headpiece, a single body piece, a single hand glove slot, and a single leg piece. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 of these skill points are 13 of these skill points are 4 upgrades. That sounds like a lot less than what you would got in here. If you told me that you had to spend in this skill tree 13 upgrade points to receive the equivalent of +1 armor 4 times, I would say that really sucks. for me to get on this character +4 armor, I have to spend 13 whole skill points, and that's not even including all the other skill points that you have to spend in the middle. Like at 13, you got to spend at least 26 skill points to get all those numbers. But spending 13 skill points just on what amounts to, I forget how much you could really crank out, but I think like like a single headpiece, body piece, glove, and trousers, legs. All of that would essentially give you a number of stats that wasn't that much, but you kind of didn't mind it. Like, it was a bit annoying, sure. Like, so what everyone would do is they'd pick one of these skill trees for each of their characters, and then they would go down the skill tree, and every new unlock is a new shiny thing. Oh, I got this. Oh, I got a headpiece. Oh, I got this. Oh, I got a body piece. Oh, I got this. Oh, I got a glove piece. And then when they finish that, they're on to their next skill tree, sort of thing, and they're thinking, wow, I've just got my big shiny thing. Can't wait to get another. Hope I can get it. And obviously you can. This is what an endgame character looks like. But when you're on your second row, you're working down your Dominus tree after your Lex Mechanic one. Every other space is now a side upgrade. It's now a side. What are they called? Side upgrade. I forget what the term is there. Like, it's side. Yeah, it's sideways change. It's not making you more powerful, because each kind of armor slot, so like the gloves had an roughly equal, between the gloves they provided about an equal amount of benefit. Between the body slots they provided like more benefit than the gloves, but like, I'm saying like a lot, but between each, like compared to other body pieces, they're about the same. You still can have a bit of flexibility depending on what you want. You're thinking, this guy, he's like a melee character, so he's getting up and physical a lot, so he's taking physical damage, so I'm gonna give him more of the physical armor, so that's slightly more beneficial. But ultimately, by the time you're working on your second skill tree, you're paying skill points for not improving your stats to a significant margin, rather than, I'm gaining +4 armor for this body slot. It becomes, I'm gaining slightly better allocation of the same +4 armor in this body slot. Again, converted, it's actually +2 armor, sort of thing. But it felt more significant. Like, each upgrade felt more significant, and also it allowed for more customizability, to put it that way. As I said, this is what an end game character would look like in the first game. See how they have 2 full skill trees, and then they've kind of trailed off after and point out another detail. Why haven't they gone for this upgrade, this upgrade, this upgrade? They have gone for this upgrade, but I think that also one, because these are perks for equipment. If you recall, if you've never played it, you put this piece of equipment on your guy, he does it a bit better. Except he doesn't need that, because he's putting this bit of equipment on that guy to make them do better. So even the non-equipment upgrades, a lot of these upgrades are kind of benefiting you provided you're using a certain equipment, but because you can't equip 50 mechadendrites on one character, the upgrades for mechadendrites are mutually exclusive. There is more wasted points in this skill tree, but it feels better than what this skill tree looks like. This skill tree very much like, if you are like, so I apologize for how much I'm saying like. However, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can do numbers. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. There is 9, 18. I don't know. That looks like, let's call that 30 points for an endgame character. It's been a while since I played Mechanicus. 30 experience points for an endgame character in that. In this, sure, assumedly you do get, like, let's say you do. What does an endgame character for this, an endgame character for this character look like? It's just all of these upgrades filled in. All of these abilities, I guess. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bearing in mind that choose one or the other, you can't choose both. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because after this choice thing, you lock yourself out of one or the other. So that's 10 perks. You filled out both of those completely. I'm pulling numbers and everything, but pulling numbers at my ass. But like, I feel like when I get to the end game, this character is gonna look like the same ish. You can change around the equipment, but like, and pick different options, but you're still filling out the skill tree. Your skill, even if you're not interested in, I don't know, I don't know how. This is not the best character because he's very much like a one-trick pony. But if a good one is the Mr. Priestman Videx, he has big stuff. He has a big gun, except you can't use that gun in melee, and both of those weapons, neither of them have assault. So if you shoot your gun, you can't then charge into melee and use your melee weapon. If you use your melee weapon, unless you kill the one enemy you were faced, if you're adjacent to two enemies, you can't use your gun. If your weapon doesn't kill that enemy, you can't use your gun. So that is to say, if you're looking at that and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to abandon the idea of using that melee weapon. The melee weapon's weak. He's very much geared towards using a big gun. I'm just going to put all my points into big gun. You're just going to get to a point where you no longer have, like, you've filled out the parts of the skill tree you want, and then you just have to put those points into the melee weapon. Because what else are you going to do? And you're not really interested at that point. I feel like it. Yeah. What am I saying here? The end game character in this game is gonna look like the same. Everyone's end game character with this guy, provided they pick the same, equipment. Once you pick the equipment, you just fill out the skill tree, however you will. And yeah, the numbers feel less impressive. I'm rambling now, but that's I think that's what I wanted to come across. I wanted to admire the some of the subtleties in here, just like the amount of the way they've added in like side upgrades and empty space into something that doesn't feel like it looks very linear. It's not like a lot of this stuff is side grades rather than upgrades. But like the early game, the first few, the early part of your experience is linear because you're just trying to push down the one avenue, and every upgrade you get is significant. Every upgrade means something, and then it's only after you've really got a feel of that character and like, this is my Lex mechanic. He does, I forget what this. He's all about cognition points. He cranks up that cognition points. Okay, what do I want to do with that? Well, let's put that into Dominatus. Let's put that into big guns. That's what this guy did. Or maybe he went the other way. Maybe he was like, I'm putting this into big guns. I want to be able to fuel those big guns more. Point is, their initial experience was, here is a shiny thing, here is a shiny thing, and each of those shiny things felt more shinier than +1 move point. Wow, that felt a bit weak. The numbers don't feel as big in this game. Anyway, He has a big axe and the ability to charge with that axe. I like that ability. It's good. Things like bypassing armor, armor crush. Sure. I'm not sure if because most things only have one armor, or at least thus far, 12 hours into the game. I'm sure there will be more armor later on, but does crushing armor apply before armor reduces damage, or does that count as 1 point of damage? Either way, I chose breaking the armor because if something has armor and it needs to be chipped down, I'd rather be able to do that than not. Words. By and large, I don't have too many complaints with this guy. Reveal the Xenos. He plays a lot. He feels a lot different. Like early game or low level commanders, they feel quite vulnerable. I have lost a match a couple of times because they just get focused down. So giving you an ability which says, "Hey, make your main guy the thing that if this dies, you lose the battle." Give him a provoke ability to make it more likely he gets targeted. Feels weird. I'm not going to say that it's a bad ability, because I think it plays into his playstyle of you're supposed to be, you charge out there with a big axe and you hit stuff. And yeah, I guess this is supposed to like make him provoke, but also make him tougher to do so. +1 HP again. +1 movement is valid. Whenever I see like +1 HP, that always feels like a very small bonus when he has 10. Anyway, yeah, by and large, no notes other than 4 points for servitor increases. Doesn't really feel amazing to me. +1 HP, +1 movement, a free slap on when they die in melee, provided they die in melee and they're facing an enemy that they can actually do damage to, and that their slap doesn't just completely do nothing to, and then chance for them to come back. Kepra. Early game, my first experience with Kepra is she is weak. That was the first feeling I got from this character. She has a pistol that does 2 damage. She has an axe. Sure, the axe is fairly standard. There's nothing flashy about this. This isn't like This isn't like Mr. Big Man with his big axe kind of thing. Big charge and attack sort of thing. This is just a bog standard. Hey, every character needs a melee weapon kind of thing. 2 damage pistol, that, and a healing stick, and then so final data. So you can point at an area, or sorry, is this the one that one's priority target? So this one, you point at an area of a radius of about 1, I think, and anything in that area that dies with it, like in the next round, not even permanent, it's just 1 turn, anything in that area that dies on the next round, you gain 1 cognition point. That sounds interesting? No. Just straight up no. Okay, so nothing she has, apart from the healing stick, nothing she has uses cognition points. Again, the stratagem does cost a what's the word? Cognition point. The stratagem does cost a cognition point, but every unit that you have, again, assume that every unit you have are the things that generate you cognition points, and yeah, like this one especially, this citation stratagem, you only need to use once per character, at least in the beginning, per character, per Skitarii troop. But assume that whatever the stratagem, the cognition points needed to fire off stratagems is being gained by the things using the cognition, using the stratagems. So for her main flashy thing, she has two of them. One of her two main flashy things is she has an easier time gaining cognition points. What's she going to spend it on? A healing stick, which she can use once per turn, and generally your Skitari cohort should be generating like a net positive on cognition points anyway. So the only thing I've used this for is to identify target, because targets start off unidentified. You're like, oh, I don't know. I've seen thousands of Necron warriors, but that one in particular, I don't know what its health is until I identify it. Oh look, it's 6 HP, just like all of the other ones. Surprise. I use this to identify them, and Electroprobe, inflict 1 damage on units in the area without connected. So her citation stratagem is, when a Skitari cohort uses this, it creates a link between them and her. That's all it does. I haven't really looked at the abilities. Again, my initial experience with her was, this is a weak character. It might get strong later, but I don't want to carry it through to that point. Basic axe, like a terrible pistol, like any, that's the lowest damage attacking thing I've seen thus far. You can give it +1 max damage, again, not even a flat +1 damage. It's potentially +1 damage. I think that puts it to a 2 or a 3 if I'm not mistaken. As in like the range. Same with her Omnisyrax. Servo Skull. I use it to identify an enemy, and then inflicts 1 damage on units in the area. That doesn't even ignore armor. So I try to use it to kill off an immortal or something, like a big shoot guy. There's the guy with 1 armor and a gun. I tried to use it to kill off one of those. I couldn't, because it had 1 armor, and this can't get past that. Which is why I've put a second point into it, because, I don't know, double down or something. I figured most enemy units only have 1 armor, so this will at least do 1 point of damage to them, and that's all this ability is worth to me. This character's main thing, Servo Skull, is do 1 point of damage to something within 10 tiles, provided that line of sight doesn't even... if there's no line of sight between her and the thing that she's sending an autonomous Servo Skull to go deal with, it can't. If she can't see it, neither can the Servo Skull. It's dumb. Give exposed, that could be good, but that's at the end. That's the shining end point of this tree. You give +1 damage from weapons. The thing that a basic squad of Skitari Vanguard have. Anyway, I know that's an unfair comparison, but you get what I mean. Priority target. This is her other main thing. So, you remember how I said that create a connection between this unit and Kepra. So you have, say, a Skitari Ranger. It shoots a thing. It gains 1 cognition point. It then uses that cognition point to build a link. Cool. Suffer 1 to 2, so she can then point at a designated enemy and say, anyone who shoots that enemy who has a link between me and them gains 1 to 2 extra damage. Okay, that's not nothing, but it's still not much. It's something, but it does require all of your troops to, like, you're basically relying on all of your troops being able to focus fire on a tough enemy. If you're facing a bunch of weak enemies, this ability doesn't really do anything. It's only good for taking out big bad guys. Again, there's all of this. I'm sure that it does get good. Let's have a quick I'm not going to read through all this just now. But my initial experience with this character was she is weak. The only thing she brings to the table is terrible damage and a healing stick, and the ability to scan enemies. So I haven't bothered to invest points into improving this experience. That's probably my fault. I will no doubt go back and take another look, but that was my initial reaction. Videx. Hey, Videx has a problem right now. This ability, and it's quite frankly astounding that this bug exists, but there is a bug currently. It shipped with the original copy of the game, or the original version of the game. Motive Force. For each so for this ability, for each defensive point that this character has, grant 1 stack of energized to an allied unit. That can be himself, that can be another unit within range, 6 range. Then he loses all of his defense. So he starts off with 2, you use this ability, you give 2 stacks of energize. Energize is your next range weapon deals +1 damage. So he starts off with 2 defense, he reduces that to 0, and he gives 2 extra damage to either himself or someone else for their next ranged attack. Except it doesn't. It doesn't apply the energized stacks. It gives him defense down, so his defense goes to 0, and then it just does nothing else. That I'm not speaking in hyperbole here. The energized stacks do not apply. I do not know how someone did not test that and go, yeah, no, this doesn't work. This straight up doesn't. I don't even know how you would initially program an ability like that. Like, it's literally apply when this ability triggers, give this character defense down, give this character the stacks of energized. I don't know how someone programmed this ability into the game and forgot to do the thing that it does. Just full stop. So that ability currently does nothing. It is no doubt a bug, and they need to fix it. Any other comments do I have on that? I feel like I had something, but I forgot. But at one point I did have some. Oh, that's right. The defense down wears off at the end of this character's next turn. As in, like, so on his turn he uses this ability. He, assuming he should give energize to either himself or another target, he then has 0 defense for the end of his turn. He still has defense down until the turn after. So this ability up here, his whole thing, and this is where you're supposed to build up extra stacks of defense. This unit and Videx gain defended. So your Skitaria Ranger shoots a thing, uses this ability, gains 1 stack of defended, and Videx gains 1 stack of defended. And then another ranger shoots again, use that ability, Videx gains another stack of defended, he has 4 armor, he's a tank, he's going to apply a +4 damage to when he uses this ability to someone on his next turn. Except after you use this ability and then that happens, that entire next turn is wasted, because if you're trying to do this again where you're trying to build up defended stacks on Vidari, you can't, because he still has the defended down debuff where his defense is set to 0. So you use this ability, you can theoretically use it next turn, except you can't because his defense is 0. And there's no way to change his defense until the end of that turn. So that seems bad to me. I understand he shouldn't regain his natural defense at the end of his turn. That at the end of the turn he uses this ability, but after that turn he should be able to gain defense from other sources, such as his Skitarii cohort using this incantation, I feel. Otherwise, why does this not have... I think it's supposed... It says there plus 2 turns, except it doesn't have a cooldown on it. That's another thing they haven't got right. Currently in the game, this Motive Force I don't think has a cooldown. It's saying it should, but it doesn't. So that ability's just messed up. Other things that I don't like about this guy... another problem that I have with this guy. This ability right here. It looks small. After completing a ritual, Videx gains energized. Why is this in the fucking way? Let's say this guy, he has a staff, he has a gun. The gun is much flashier than the staff, because the staff does 3 to 4 damage, the gun does 4 to 7 damage, and he has an ability that lets him impact, when it works, that lets him do more damage with the gun. So obviously you're going to think, this guy, he gun, I want to make his gun better. This ability does nothing if this is the first ability you take. And also, rituals are kind of crap, in my opinion. So after completing a ritual, Videx gains +1 damage. What rituals? Where are the rituals? There is a ritual here, but don't be confused. This is this is giving your Skitarii cohort the ability to use rituals. I don't think that applies to this. It'd be cool if it did, but I don't think it. I mean, even if it did, if you're not taking this, because that changes your entire skill tree. If you're thinking, no, I really like this defended thing going on. If you want to take this and this energizing accumulation is supposed to pair with this ability up here. I'm saying this ability because techno lingo, benediction of omnis, or whatever words. If this is supposed to pair with that, and it does work when your Skitarii Ranger triggers that, if you don't have that, it's still a mandatory pick before you can pick any other upgrade to your lance, and that seems like a terrible idea. That is the premise of why is this a terrible idea. Because rituals, in my opinion, are not good. What is a ritual? End this character's turn and lock it in place in turn order, so you can't... You know how round order works, right? You can pick which unit you want to go when you have a time slot to do it. A ritual basically locks you into that time slot for the next round. So end this unit's turn and lock it in turn order. Trigger this skill at the beginning of the unit's next turn. If you don't like the idea of locking a character into a specific point in a turn order, which I don't personally I don't like. I like to have my turn order be flexible. So hence why I'm not taking this ability. So I don't think I'd want to be using rituals all that much, even for this character. So that ability, this skill point that I have to waste here in order to get to the 6 abilities behind it that upgrade my gun, is useless. By the way, the only abilities that, assuming this doesn't trigger, and it only counts when Videx himself uses a ritual, which I'd assume it kind of feels that way, the way it's written. After completing a ritual, Videx gains energized, rather than after a ritual is completed. Because he's the only thing that gives the ability to do rituals. It's his whole thing. There is a ritual here, Motive Force, and there is a ritual here. These are the only 2 places that do rituals. Every other ability, there's something up here that mentions ritual, but that's while he's doing a ritual he gains 1 armor. These are the only 2 places where he does a ritual. So in order for this ability, the first point that you put into your gun, in order for that point to actually do anything in the game, you need to get to the end of one skill tree or halfway through another skill tree. That shouldn't be the first point you touch if you need if you need to be on your third skill point in order to, make use of it. That's assuming that you really like the idea of grants divination to allied units in a radius. That radius is what? 5? Yeah, okay. So not terrible, not much. Divination is the next time this unit would suffer damage, that damage is ignored and this status is expired. Bearing in mind the alternate pick, instead of you have a ritual where you lock yourself into turn order and then on the next round you trigger it, and it costs 2 cognition points to do so. The alternate for that is you can give divination to one allied unit within 6 range. I don't know. I feel like that ritual isn't a shining example of reason to pick over just remote whatever. The ability to cast this ability on an ally within 6 tiles. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Videx. That ability is currently broken. Even if it wasn't, the defense down over 2 I feel like they intend for it to be a 2-turn cooldown and it's just broken, so it isn't a 2-turn cooldown. So yeah, that ability is broken, and that skill point there is in the way of getting to all of the and I haven't even looked at all the abilities, which +1 range, +1 min damage, that's good. There's minimum damage. So that would be, I assume, pushing from a 5 to a 7. Makes it more reliable. Imply impeded, sure. I prefer immobilize is fairly easy, where they straight up can't move from something, not this guy, but from other places. Defense, remove defense down and defended from Videx. I had thoughts about that as well. So remove defense down and defended from Videx, I assume that is to make motive force more usable. I'm not gonna nitpick too much. I feel there's a niche case where taking that ability, if you want to shoot something that has 3 health left, so you're guaranteed to kill it, and then you want to set up motive force for the next round, taking that ability means you can't, say if he has 6 armor because you've been spamming Incantation of the Soul, so he's got 6, sorry, not armor, defense, he has 6 defense. It'd be a waste to use motive force on something with 4 HP, so you shoot the thing, except then you lose all your stacks of defended, so you can't use motive force for you can't use motive force to transfer that 6 damage into your next attack. You know what I mean? Bit of a small gripe there, but whatever. Cool. Yeah. The rest of that I think is fine. I do like the fact that making this gives you armor when you're doing a ritual is optional, because I probably won't be doing rituals too much, so optional. Good. Captrix. We're nearly there. Don't worry, there isn't too much I have to say about this character. Just their whole thing. Unfortunately. Hey, look, Flechette Blaster. Somehow a pistol... I remember when I said Kepra had a gun that only does 2 damage? This does 4 times 0 to 1. Which, I guess if you can buff that to not be 0 to 1, that averages out to 2, I assume. But if you can buff that, I guess it will do a good amount more. However, if that will not even tickle anything with 1 point of armor at its base. And I don't think... Yeah, Flechette Blaster gains +1 max damage. I picked that. The other thing that you can do is unlock grav mines. You throw down mines, if anything steps on it, they become immobilized. I don't think that works. The one time I used that, an immortal stepped onto it and then stepped off again and like just ignored it. So that might currently be bugged. It triggered, the mine disappeared and did something, but it didn't apply immobilize to them. So yeah, no, that's probably possibly currently bugged. And even if it wasn't, the fact that, see how I didn't pick it, I went down the other tree. I can pick this though, which gives grav mines, it can cause exposed to targets, except I don't have grav mine. This is another case of you gain an upgrade for a thing, but you don't have the thing. So I don't have access to grav mines, but my grav mines are upgraded. To be fair though, this is an optional choice, so it's not the worst end of the. It's not the worst thing, but like, I don't know. Yeah, it's fine. It's just, it seems, you know, like a thing. There's no need to have a choice there, because it's not really a choice unless you're going the other way. Anyway, what else about this character that I felt? Deception Protocol. So remove the requirement to sacrifice a unit for the Scout Waypoint directive in Captrix-led missions. So you know, if there's a long mission, about halfway through it's like, hey, do you want to heal your character for 50% HP, or maybe remove the, what's it called, vigilance, lower the vigilance by 1 by sacrificing one of your units, and it's always a random unit. It's never the like Servitor at half health. It's always like your Skitari Alpha that you don't want to sacrifice, you know? Anyway, that would be good, except it's kind of undermined by the first ability you need to take, which is reduce the combined vigilance meter impact of selected stratagems by 1. So that's already kind of lowering your vigilance by 1. It's only 1, but it's still, I feel, giving you enough of a leeway that I don't feel the need to use the Scout Waypoint directive. I guess it gives me the option of both Scout Waypoint and the other thing. This ability, by the way, is very good. Reduce the combined vigilance meter impact. That is, worst case scenario, that is an extra -20 to your Sicarian units. So these two abilities, because you can pick the thing that reduces the cost by 20%, the stratagem, so that can combine to like -40% on Sicarians, and then you can just run onto the field with a ton of Sicarians, and that'd be cool. Incense generation. I said we're nearly there, we're nearly there. This is the last thing, I promise. Invocation of the Machine, I think all of that is good. I haven't really delved into it because I don't need it, but there's nothing inherently wrong with that ability as far as I'm concerned. However, give this unit, give Captrix obscured and focused. The focused is fine. The obscured is kinda useless. In theory it's fine, except if this unit uses a weapon action, suffers damage, or is within range 2 of an enemy unit, their status expired. So to get rid of obscured, you just have to... this doesn't work if they are within 2 range of an enemy. See that pistol? First of all, pistol has a range of 4. Even if it wasn't, that's doing fuck all damage. This is a melee character. You can tell because they have an axe and nothing else, and they have movement. This is a movement ability that helps them move, and they got good speed. This character is getting into melee with the enemies on turn 1, and if they're not, they are hiding behind a pillar waiting for turn 2. As far as I've not encountered a scenario where this character is not getting into melee in turn 1 in the 12 hours that I have played. So giving obscured to this character isn't really doing anything. And even if it did, Okay, so let's assume you're fighting Necrons. There are other things that you fight in this game, maybe. I've encountered one such thing, but no spoilers. The main enemy you're fighting are Necrons. They are on the box art. Let's assume that. Flayed ones are melee. I haven't encountered Wraiths yet, but I assume Wraiths are melee. A lot of stuff is melee. Yeah, so they're not getting shot at too much. The shield guys, they're melee. The staff guys, they're melee. The pyro, what are they called? Cryptek pyromant, the psyker pyromant, not psychers, you know, the spellcasters. They do AoEs, so I assume an AoE. You know, you're not targeting them. You're just pointing in the general direction and blowing them up. So that's not going to protect you against a fireball spell. Sorry, cyber fireball spell. Death marks the assassins, the thing that you would really want to be obscured from. They ignore obscured. The death marks, the assassins, the things that point at a character and do a fuck ton of damage. Those things that you really don't want to just erase the health of your commander. They ignore obscure and also dodge. So dodge and improved dodge, they have a 30% dodge chance. I like that. The death marks will ignore that entirely. So this ability does nothing against them. The jetpack guys can, funnily enough, just jetpack over next to you and remove obscure immediately from that. So I don't see where obscure is useful fighting Necrons, which kind of puts that ability in the shitter. It gives you +1 max damage, effectively. Dodge and more dodge, I like the idea of. It gives them a bit of survivability, more so than that doesn't. +1 movement is nice, because they are a melee unit. They have good movement already, but sure. Assassination, I didn't feel the need to pick up. Again, it's a conditional +1 damage. Sorry. It's a conditional +1 damage, but it does involve quite a bit of dancing around the enemy, where if you have two enemies next to each other, you can't really dance around them without provoking attacks of opportunity too easily. Captrix's weapons gain assault. It feels weird that that's not the case, but that's a nice upgrade. If you kill something with your axe, you're not... you might kill something with your pistol, but if you kill something with your axe, you'd want to run up to the next enemy to tag them. Something like a range unit, you want to be next to them for that attack of opportunity. Fishing. So that's quite good. Yeah. Apply that ability to, just give obscured to things in a, how big is the radius again? Create a zone in which allies' units gain obscured while they are in the zone last 2 rounds. It doesn't say how big it is. It costs 3 cognition points, so I assume it's worth something, but that kind of... I don't really care about my other units when I'm running too much. They probably are useful, but you know. I haven't felt like the need for this one unit in particular to definitely be protected with obscuration. And they also happen to be next to Captrix. Range 0, by the way, so it's like around Captrix. I don't know how far around, but I think that indication there, the symbol, I can't point over it, about here. I think it's just adjacent to Captrix. So that's going to be other melee units, which again, going off of what I said here, your melee units are going to be shaking hands and saying, how'd you do, good job, like whilst they are killing the enemy or after they've killed the enemy in melee. So that's not going to do anything to them. Gains +2 rounds, just in case you want to cast Obscuring on Captrix and have her stand somewhere and just not doing it, not get into melee for 3 rounds, you can have it last that, which is a massive waste of damage of what she's good at, which is damaging units, and then tagging units with attacks of opportunity. That is quite a bit of damage that adds up, which, if she is out of melee range for 3 whole rounds, that's, I guess, the +1 max damage. Okay, so that at the end there is, I guess, a way... No, because it has a 3-turn cooldown. I was thinking like you could stack it up, but yeah, it just means that you can maintain +1 max damage. Pairs nicely with Flechette Blaster, but the rest, the obscured, the thing that has a load of words, the thing that like it feels like it's doing, doesn't do that. Yeah, that was a lot of rambling. I do apologise, but she also gets a heal stick, maybe. I hope that that like these are just my initial thoughts on the skill tree and such that from what I've experienced. I'm not sure if you agree, not sure if you disagree. I hope even if you disagree, I hope my thoughts at least sound valid, reasonable. Like, even if you don't agree with them, I hope you can see where I'm coming from, thinking that like, I don't like rituals because I don't like the idea of locking something into turn order, you know? I hope, I hope I come across as like a sane person and not someone screaming at how unjust and unfair the world, you know. Yeah, let me know what you think. If there's anything any other thoughts that you have on the skills and such. Thanks for watching. Peace.